All right, lesson 2 is talking about emotions. Most of this should be a review. You should know most of your emotions, but we're going to identify them anyway as a review, learn how to express emotions in healthy ways, recognize healthy ways to meet our emotional needs, and then learn how to practice healthful behaviors to manage anger, because most of us struggle with that emotion the most. And we're going to watch a video in class when we're done with this PowerPoint, and it points out how anger makes us stupid. So, what are emotions? They're feelings created in response to thoughts, remarks, and events. Brainstorm the different emotions that we have. If you've seen this Inside Out movie, you know that there's more than what they show, but they show like anger, fear, joy, disgust, sadness. So, anger, strong feelings of displeasure that result from being harmed or hurt. Things that make you angry might be, people lying to you, people being mean to you, losing something, breaking something, your parents telling you no. For me, I get triggered when I'm driving and people aren't, driving appropriately or using their blinkers or things like that. People yelling at you for things that aren't your fault could trigger you. Empathy is an emotion that you probably don't realize that you have, but it's the ability to experience the emotions of another person. So I could empathize with someone if they had, lost a pet because I've lost my pet. Or I could empathize if, their grandpa died because my grandpa's died. Or if someone's, dad died of lung cancer and yours did too. It's feeling empathy for someone. It's different from sympathy, which we'll get to. So, can you think of a time that you felt empathetic? You understood their feelings because you've experienced it as well. Fear is an emotion that can actually keep you safe from danger. If your body is telling you that something is fearful, then it's probably a sign that you shouldn't be doing it or it's dangerous. And then we have irrational fears, which we'll talk about phobias a lot this year, but if I have an irrational fear of, goodness gracious, like spiders, is the spider actually going to harm me in any way? No, probably not. It could, but if it's like a little baby spider chilling in the corner of my house, it's not out to get me or kill me. Or if I can't even walk in the house because I know that there are spiders there, oh my goodness, go away, Apple software, then it can be irrational. Go away. Happiness, a sense of well-being, of feeling good about life in general. Being happy, you found 20 bucks on the floor, your day is going really well, you're just in a good mood, people are being nice to you, you got enough sleep. What makes you happy, or do you have a happy place? I know if I'm feeling down in the dumps, maybe there's a song that I'll listen to lift my mood, or I really love watching Grey's Anatomy. It just makes me happy, so I watch Grey's Anatomy when I'm like, I need a little uplift. Maybe it's your pets, a friend. Jealousy is the resentment or unhappiness at another's fortune. It's not a good thing to have. They always say you're not supposed to want what your neighbors want, but it happens. Love is a combination of caring and affection that binds one person to another. Doesn't have to be a romantic love. You can love your pets, your parents, your siblings, your family. You can love your best friend in a non-romantic way. And then you have the romantic love where you have husband and wife and you're married and having kids. Sadness is a normal, healthy reaction to an unhappy event or disappointment. Again, it's normal. But we'll talk about the, grief later in the lesson and how there is too much sadness that leads to like depression, and that is something that needs to be discussed. But just being sad and crying is actually a healthy emotional release. Sympathy is similar to empathy, but it's the ability to understand and share another's problems because you've had a similar problem or felt similar sorrow, but maybe, your friend's dad died of cancer and I have a similar experience because my grandpa died of cancer, but it's not the same because my dad's still here and losing my dad would be, worse in my eyes. But losing someone in general, you can sympathize with. So sympathy, empathy, very similar, but at the same time, very different. The way you express your emotions definitely affects your mental, emotional, social, and physical health. It's going to affect your triangle. How do you let your emotions take a hold of you, or how do you express them in a healthy way so that you're not either always sad or always angry or always anxious? Learning to express anxiety, fear, and anger are probably the top ways to keep your mental and emotional health in check. It's super important because these three things, anxiety, fear, and anger, are our top players in what affects our daily life. Anxiety is a state of uneasiness, usually associated with a future uncertainty. Symptoms can include a faster heartbeat and or churning of the stomach. A lot of people get anxious for different reasons. Either you had a bad experience maybe flying in the past, so now every time you get on an airplane you have anxiety, or maybe you just have anxiety about flying because you know that there's a 0.002% chance that the plane could crash. A lot of people live with anxiety. It just affects some more than others. There's a lot of people that have anxiety medication to help them focus and function normally throughout the day. That's definitely nothing to be ashamed of, so we're all dealing with it. Mild anxiety, it can actually be very helpful for you to have some anxiety. It also just depends how you use it. It gets your body ready for action and can increase your energy levels. This energy can actually improve your performance. Like, you probably have anxiety before a test. You can either let it, decrease your performance, or you can use that anxiety and energy to perform well on your tests because it is a challenge that you're willing to accept, or before a big game in a sporting event. When anxiety builds up, it can interfere with normal and necessary functions like eating and sleeping. If it gets to the point where you have so much anxiety you can't eat or sleep, then we have a problem. So how can we deal with anxiety? You can talk through a problem with a family member, friend, counselor, someone that you trust to work through it with you and understands where you're coming from. If you talk to someone about anxiety that has never dealt or experienced it, then they're maybe not going to be the most helpful person. But these people can help you express your anxiety in a positive way. Sharing your feelings of anxiety can give you reassurance and encouragement that you may need. I know if my class gives you anxiety, or the homework's too much, or you're like, I can't handle this, let me know, and I can definitely help you out with that, because I don't want to give people anxiety. I want to reassure you, encourage you. You can do this. It's not hard. I'm here for you. Overcoming anxiety helps you build something called resilience, and that helps you meet challenges head on. Escaping from or avoiding situations is not helpful. A heightened state of anxiety can produce panic. Panic is a feeling of sudden and intense fear. So panic grows from anxiety, not fear. Panic is fear, basically. Symptoms of this include dizziness and a pounding heart. Those of you that have suffered from panic attacks, it all starts back with your anxiety. So if you learn how to cope with your anxiety in a healthy way, then you can avoid getting those panic attacks or a feeling of sudden intense fear. Fear is your mind and body's alert system. It prepares you for a quick action in case a real threat exists. Again, not everything you fear is going to be a threat to you, but some of our brains are just wired differently, and we grow up being afraid of things that might not be something we need to be afraid of, like dogs. I don't know. Fear of failure can keep you from doing things you want or need to do. Fear stops being a protective force when it becomes a central focus in your life. This is when we start talking about like phobias and people that need to avoid like going to the woods because you know there are spiders in the woods. Like you can't just not go somewhere because you're afraid of a spider. A positive way of expressing fear is to talk about it again with a family member, a friend, a counselor. Just getting that reassurance that, you know, you might not need to be afraid of what you're afraid of. Phobias are irrational fears of something that is not necessarily a threat. We'll talk about these more later when we talk about mental and emotional disorders. But some people say they have a phobia of something, but it's probably not as bad as you think and wouldn't be considered a real phobia. It would just be a fear. Like, I'm afraid of spiders. I don't have a phobia of spiders because I can actually stand to be in a room with one. I just don't want it to touch me. So someone has to kill it. Why is fear a helpful emotion? It keeps you from danger. Expressing anger, it's normal, it's an important release, but keeping it bottled up inside can be physically and emotionally harmful. Yelling at the cause of your anger is not a good solution. Neither is using threats, sarcasm, or negative forms of behavior. Actions like this tend to only worsen the problem. So trying to use statements like, when you do this, I feel angry because, instead of just screaming at someone and then getting in an argument with them that could turn, physical, possibly. These are some steps for anger management if you want to dabble in this. If you're someone that's an angry person, these could help you. Defense mechanisms, these are things that we use when we have really strong emotions that, they help us deal with them. You have denial, which is refusing to accept what is real. And displacement, it's taking your feelings out on someone other than the person who hurt you, because you're not ready to confront them. So these things we've all done. It just comes with the emotions. Some defense mechanisms can help you from feeling too much pain, but they can also keep you from dealing with your problems. There is one called sublimation, and it's taking strong feelings like anger or sadness and then using them in a positive way. We have 3 emotional needs. These are super important. It's what you need versus, what you want. And you can tell me you don't need these, but you do. You need to love and to be loved. Doesn't have to be romantic. You have the need to belong. So you don't want to be, an outcast or be alone. You want to belong somewhere when you're family or a group of friends or a community. And then you have the need to make a difference. How do we deal with these emotional needs? Show others that you care about them. Join a team, become a member of something, volunteer or help your community, have a positive influence on others, become a teacher. This is how we veer our emotional needs. And then you should be filling all of this out on your boop-a-doo document and turn it in by Friday at midnight.